Hello and welcome to the English broadcast of the LPL. We are back for our third place matchup between two teams who have easily could have made it to our finals in Chengdu, but we're here in the middle of Chongqing right now in the snake pin. And as you can see, there are no snakes here currently, but we've Airbnb'd our way here. The teams are getting ready, as is the audience. Still going to be a packed house for this one. My name is Richard Polscam. I'm going to be alongside Clement Chu and Rusty. How are you doing? Zach Rusty Pie. I always go a little bit Texan when I say his full name, so I try to avoid it this time. But we're Riffside, and this is your first time Riffside. So how are you feeling?
I have ears. It's a weird feeling. I've never seen my ears on broadcast before.
That's
but
true.
No, I'm feeling actually quite good,
Now you know
aside
how
from my
ears
ears
look.
existing. Yeah,
I like this 80s feel stadium. It looks like we're in the jungle, actually on the Rift right now, so it feels like home.
You know, we were saying that these two teams that we have today were playoff hopefuls going into the finals, but let's actually see what happened to them in the playoff bracket. So you can see BLG made it all the way to quarterfinals before being taken down by Rogue Warriors, who we have today because they were taken out by Edward Gaming.
Yeah, and only 2 sets remain in the LPL for spring split. That is today's set and the finals in the 28th in Chengdu, and that is coming up quite shortly. But of course, the teams playing today, they both went down in their last sets prior to the people competing in the finals. 3-1, Rogue Warriors went down. 3-2, IG went down, missing, of course, their star top laner.
And these were the 2 best teams in the regular split. 2 out of 3 of the East of the Beast. Unfortunately, we will have to see them here, and they're playing just for the 3rd place only. No more moving on.
They are, but there are still a lot of stakes that come with that. Not Rogue Warriors coach, but lots of things that they will be fighting over right here, including circuit points, Rusty.
Yeah, you can see the circuit points on your screen as well. Note that there is some points for the summer split. That's why they're super relevant. There's a prize money difference as well. And the other thing that you may not be thinking about that lingers to me is that you actually change who you play against in Rift Rivals. 3rd place and 4th place could be the difference between playing against SKT.
And of course, all of this is looking forward towards summer in that regional qualifiers. If you take 3rd place in 2 consecutive splits, you actually will beat out the finalists. That drops to 4th place. So it's really important if they want to catch up to potentially EDG or RNG.
Yeah, so it means a lot for these teams here, but it also means a lot for the players as well at the end of the day. When you look at players like Rookie, like Doinby, and the fact that we're here again, you know, like Rookie, he's never really made it past 3rd place in the LPL, and you're like, how do we get here once again?
Narrative-wise, this is a match that we determined who is the best Korean mid lane import playing in the LPL. We have 2 MVPs from back-to-back years right now playing in this game. And I think this is much more important for Rookie, because like you said, he's never made it past 3rd, but he is the hometown hero. He's supposed to really carry the torch forward, and I think there's a lot of pressure on his shoes. He's had such a great split, a historical split. He's had help in the Shy, in Jackie Love. If he falls below 3rd, I can't imagine the depression that would bring to him.
Yeah, it's going to hurt a lot if all the pressure's on just his toes and not his shoulders. But we also need to look at Doinby at the end of the day, because equally, this means a lot for him as well, Rusty.
Yeah, it's a big deal for Rookie. It's just as big a deal for his opponent in this set in Doinby. Rogue Warriors mid lane are the heart and soul of the team as well. An emotional rock for them usually, but that rock can actually get pushed to the side if the emotions start to sway. And he is a member that you have to look towards when we talk about redemption as well, because he's got super high highs and they've just had some lows going down in the semi-finals, and it's redemption for him finding his footing one more time.
And this was a great example of the highs that we saw out of Doinby in that Game 5 against Billy. He really just stepped up his game, and as you can see, he's always a very emotive player that we see on stage. Absolutely, so definitely drives the team forwards. But the interesting thing about these 2 mid laners, they have very different styles as they go toe-to-toe today.
Doinby is the more support-oriented mid laner. He has picks like Karma, the only Lulu mid player, and you can see in his DPM much lower than Rookie. Rookie, on the other side, is much more carry-oriented. He is playing on the red side today, so I do expect the last pick being handed over to him. Doinby's job right now is to survive the laning phase in those early skirmishes.
Certainly is, and you can see through the CS difference at 15 minutes and the CS per minute when you contrast both of those stats. Rookie, #1 in the league compared to 6th of Doinby, but he's actually 12th in his CS per minute stats, which does indicate a lot about the play styles of these players. He's going to keep you down. He's not just going to win in his farm, he's going to stop you from getting farm and still stay ahead of you in that way, and that's what makes him so scary to play against.
Yeah, I know you were telling me earlier, Rusty, he's like the stat killer. You know, if you go up against him, you just lose. Yeah, exactly. You just lose all of your score lines. Unlucky. But if we look at the mid laners and how they interact with the team as well, you've got to look at like the AD carries and how those pairings really form up in the game.
Yeah, these 2 positions are going to define the compositions we see today. And on our graph, we see that for Rogue Warriors, they want to play the Rise into Kai'Sa uncontested like side lane control. And for IG right there, the best they've ran into that combination has been the Taliyah and Varus. You push that lane in and you kill it before it can get out of lane.
Yeah, what's super interesting here is the top rows, the top priority champions, if there were no bans to be seen at all. But when you look at Rogue Warriors side in particular, 3 of the 4 champions there, even from the second row, want to get banned away. Everything but Cogmore should actually be taken away from Rogue Warriors in a set against IG. And the one that may stand out as a bit of a question mark is the Rise. Why would you ban the Rise away from them? And what's interesting about that in this matchup is that Duke plays Gnar, and Rise top lane is actually a flex from Rogue Warriors, and it's very good into Gnar. So there's a real possibility that Rise does get removed.
Yeah, definitely. We have seen Mouse on the Rise champion as well. And if you look at the right side of the screen, the big thing about it is Varus. I think Varus is the most important champion so far. In the LPL playoffs, he has 11 wins and only 2 losses. These 2 guys in the semifinals, they had very similar trajectories. It started with someone picking Kai'Sa, losing the first match, and it ended with the team picking Varus, closing out the entire series. So if we can start on game 5 where the ban pick understanding is, and Rogue Warriors is able to snatch up Varus on blue side first pick, I think that's a huge boon to them. But if it goes over to IG, I think it just counters so much of what Rogue Warriors wants to do.
Now, these groupings are very much under the assumption that, like, there's no bans and we get both of these together. So if these get broken up, then what is the priority? Is it just the Varus? If the Varus gets taken away, what champion would you want to take out of these pairings?
I will agree with Clement here and say that the Varus should be the #1 priority champion, unless the Kai'Sa, of course, is up and available. And when you look at the blue side and the red side differences here for each respective team, there is always a preference to blue side for Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, you can take a look at the lineup as well for Rogue Warriors with Mouse in the top lane, Flawless in the jungle, with Joinby in the mid lane, and SMLZ and Kahlua in the bottom lane.
Definitely still running the same composition right here. The big carry we didn't mention is SMLZ. He is still the main damage dealer, but Kahlua, and then they have to hold on to the bot lane, where Rogue Warriors has been faltering, has been in the earliest skirmishing. They can't decide if they want to scale or if they want to avoid fights.
And taking them on today will be Duke in the top lane, Ning in the jungle, Rookie in the mid, with Jackulov and Baolan in the bottom lane for Invictus Gaming.
You have to look towards the top lane once again. Still know the Shy. He has been out with injuries. It's a big part, you would have to imagine, of why they lost in their semi-finals against RNG. But Duke is still here today. And at the start of the day, we talk about redemption. You can talk about Rookie wanting to find himself for the team. Jackulov perhaps underperforming in his semis. Duke is someone that we have to bring up into the conversation as well, because you rarely get to see him. He comes into a semi-finals and the team doesn't win. He wants to win a lot himself, surely, to prove that he is still just as good as he always has been.
But that's the thing, right? Because Duke very much changes like the DNA of the team. They look like a very different squad. You can't play through top lane in terms of a carry. You're not going to be seeing Duke play Jace in the top lane like you see out of the Shy. So it changes the makeup of the team.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference has been in the draft phase. Usually when IG goes towards the red side, they have double counter picks for their solo lanes in the top and in the mid as well. But now that they don't have the Duke, they only have one counter lane, and that really changes how they play the early game. We talk about them as the strongest 15 to 20 minutes game, but that really isn't the case anymore. They're not as explosive.
All right, we don't have long until we head to casters, so I'm going to get quick predictions from you guys. Clement, start us off.
I have to go with 3-1 for IG. They played Rogue Warriors 4 times in the regular split, won all 4 of them quite handily. The mid-game skirmishes, mid-lane skirmishes are going to be the most important, because that's going to give access for Rookie to go bottom.
I'll be honest with you, Pulse, I couldn't decide. I had no idea what I was going to go for. I used a random number generator instead to choose what my answer was going to be. And I landed on number 4, which was actually IG30.
Okay, there you go. So even the numbers are saying that Invictus Gaming are going to be taking this one. For now, though, we're going to send it over to our casters to get us into game.
Exactly are. My name is Dom. Joining me, we've got Barento Raz Mohammed here for this Game 1 between Rogue Warriors and Invictus Gaming. And Kai'Sa has been picked up by Rogue Warriors. Normally, you'd be saying, hey, that's a great thing. SMLZ on a massive 80 carry. But we heard about those Varus stats in playoffs, and look at what Jackulov has.
Yep, and it looks like both of these teams going into Game 1, you already mentioned it, it's going to run in the anti-Kai'Sa composition, which is entirely early game, trying to hit him hard. There's been a lot of discussion, especially on the analyst desk, of just whether they should ban out the Kai'Sa or just let it fly, and it looks like in Game 1 they're going to try and let it go.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen with this next round of bans. Might have been a mistake there as we get back to seeing Flawless on your screen, of course, suffering his defeat just a few days ago, 2 days, hard to believe. It was 48 hours when he lost his first playoffs and was eliminated by Edward Gaming. That said, he's going to lock in Rise for Rogue Warriors. And now we're looking at the mid lane perhaps, or sorry, support in Morgana.
And one thing to remember as we get a few camera shots is that Sign is still open to fly as well. So a lot of the compositions that we've been attributing to Rogue Warriors are still available to them. They can pick up the Scion in second phase and try and look to flex that topsider in the mid lane. And while Rise is way more likely to go in towards the mid lane because Mouse has only picked it up twice and doesn't have complete comfort in there, it's a pretty decent laner into tanks. So I want to see what IG wants to run top lane, just because if you get an Orin top lane or something that is a lot more tankier versus the Rise, then Mouse is willing to pick up that carry champion.
And we do have to talk about Duke coming back here for Invictus Gaming. Still no sign of the Shy just yet. Of course, I'm sure he received a lot of conversations happening on Weibo and Twitter about his play with the team, going for the full carry split push style Gnar versus actually split pushing.
Yeah, I mean, look, whenever you have a hot button issue of the Shy not showing up, it's understandable. It's like Hanser not showing up on TSM. It's like Smeb not showing up on KT. Like Khan not showing up on Kingzone. If there is a major carry, top of the league, top of the world, then it'll turn heads if he's not playing in a playoff match. So that's understandable. You mentioned what Duke played yesterday, and I felt like he underperformed. We didn't get to see a lot of him, but when he did showcase, he showcased a carry build and not split push. Sure, if you are Gnar going up against Camille, you're going to have a tough time in side lanes, but if that's going to be the case, then please pick up some tank items and start team fighting with your team.
Perhaps a bit of miscommunication from Duke for playing with the team. We originally dubbed him the Korean Bash brother along with Rookie when he joined just a short while ago. So we'll have to see if he has recovered here. And I believe that's a Soraka locked in. There are already 4 bans underneath.
Yeah, and just running through the Soraka pick because that's not the first time we saw it. And it's hilarious that there's a Nami in there, so there's a lot of troubles immediately coming through. And I hope one of those champions ain't the real one. So I want to talk on Soraka just a little bit because that has a real reason to it. Now, we saw Soraka getting picked up by Baolan in the Week 10 portion of it versus LGD. Up against Morgana, it's a good lane matchup, so it looks like immediately Invictus Gaming are trying to match them in lanes, which comes to the idea, Game 1, that they just want to play against the late game scaling of the Kai'Sa Morgana composition and try and hit it hard because they're a really quick team and they want to hold on to that identity.
Yeah, and that has been the most successful strategy against SMLZ on that Kai'Sa specifically. We heard it from the desk. Use the Varus, push the wave in, and then get a mid laner that can roam and collapse and punish it. This was where we start to see Rookie fall short in that Game 5 on that Cassiopeia because he did have lack of lane control against Royal Never Give Up.
Yeah, and if you were comparing Royal Never Give Up to Rogue Warriors, a lot of it is in the fact that Rogue Warriors kind of falter in the early game. Sure, they're picking late game champions, but their vision control isn't strong enough to hold down the fort in the early game. So they really lose out in early dives. They fall way too far behind. Invictus Gaming going up against RNG just a few days ago, it was such a tough series because even though they had a lead, RNG had very strong vision to contest them on Baron's side, to contest them moving up waves. In fact, even in the game Invictus Gaming won, it was such a tough one just because it turned into some random base race.
Yeah, in that Game 1.
Exactly, and that was just based around the fact that RNG were willing to fight them on every corner.
And it does create such an interesting conversation because if you compare that with Rogue Warriors against Edward Gaming, they also demonstrated what it looks like to play a superior vision game, not just with Haro, but also with Clearlove, also with Mako. So perhaps Invictus Gaming, with 2 days to recover after their defeat, some time to watch over the tapes and footage, could take that strategy and utilize some aggressive vision control themselves.
Exactly, and one of the biggest things we always give favor to EDG is their discipline when they run these compositions. So even though in the regular season, Invictus Gaming had stronger early games based off CS differences and the speed in which they take early towers. When it comes to crunch time, when it comes to playoff time, the leadership of Mako, leadership of Clearlove later on in the series is what won them the series handily. So remember, today is about Invictus Gaming and Rogue Warriors, so it's about learning those lessons from the previous day.
And of course, Rookie never quite making it to the finals in the LPL. He's been the best mid laner in the league for such a long time. For his team not to make it this split, a lot of people are tuning into this broadcast saying, Invictus Gaming, they were going to MSI. They were the favorites. Well, now we've got some new favorites in town, and we do have to have this discussion as to why that is happening. And a lot of this is that post-season style.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, even with regular season giving you the importance of being able to immediately slot you in semifinals, you have to play on the day.
Exactly.
And so Jackie Love not performing on the day, Rookie even performing poorly on the very last game, had that lasting impact. So
it's all one mistake. That's all it comes down to.
Exactly. So RNG performed really well on the day, even though they were 3rd place in the regular season, and they had to run the entire gauntlet. So props to RNG running it through. Invictus Gaming had to right those wrongs here today.
We'll have to see if they can do that, of course, making their way back on stage. We do have some technical difficulties that we're trying to resolve as quickly as possible. We'll get right back into that pick and ban and see if that was, in fact, a Soraka Nami locked in, because I know you saw it too.
Look, and God bless, I mean, look, the players had to jump on a plane to Chongqing.
Yeah.
I understand production had to jump on a plane in the same fashion. So you're running it through, production errors coming across. I can understand that.
Sometimes
right?
it happens.
I feel that.
Even the best of computers crash at any given time.
Not my
Still,
PC.
though, we'll have to see. Doinby, he's not allowed to talk right now, and he is still chuckling and laughing. Or perhaps we might have lifted that so the players can actually talk. As they're leaning in, it looks like, yeah, we have enabled that so that the players can communicate with each other. Of course, we don't want them sharing information before a pause or before a banned pick as you are halfway through. And we'll update that and resolve it as it goes. But still, this is we're looking for redemption not just for Invictus Gaming here, but also for Rogue Warriors. They showed when they played against Edward Gaming that they were absolutely out of their depth against that team.
And the reason for that ultimately was a problem that haunted them near the final weeks of the regular season, which was poor vision control ultimately. I know they were running these later scaling compositions. Early on in the split, they were running rampant with their team fights, being able to take win after win after win in the Eastern and Western Conference. But here's the problem. If Killua, if Flawless are not having hot wards per minute numbers, and if they're not in the right place at the right time, specifically mid lane jungle, then SMLZ is going to die repeatedly. And that's been happening really early on in these games. So sucks for them having to play both EDG and now Invictus Gaming in the final few matches. And these are the teams that are going to be punishing them.
I mean, that's what you sort of have to expect when you are getting to the top level of play in the LPL. You've got Edward Gaming, Royal Never Give Up, Invictus Gaming, Rogue Warriors, the newcomers. That they're even competing at this level is a testament to the skill of this new team. We have to remember, they didn't exist 6 months ago.
Yeah, just a band of people brought in together, a lot of incredibly strong players. One player that didn't have a name as a person on your stream is Killua from Young Miracles. Now, biggest thing about Killua was the fact that he was on the same team as Ning as well, if you remember. Both good players. I liked Killua. The fact that he was brought into the LPL was a blessing in the sense because he was a very strong mechanical player, put alongside SMLZ, and we really did see him come together in terms of laning phase with SMLZ and being able to protect them later on in team fights. So this is the first time that he's really on a large stage. So I want to see what he could do in performing here today.
Of course, we're seeing something similar out of Flawless, but Rookie on your screen right now, you can see after his quite crushing defeat in that Game 5, the emotional breakdown he had on stage in which former teammate Zatai helped get him backstage. He's going to have to show us some emotional resilience here because we did just hear from Clement earlier that if you get 3rd place in spring and summer, that's still more points than 4th place and 1st place. So there's still so much incentive for these teams to take the win here and get that 3rd place for themselves.
And of course, you're going to show that emotion because it comes down to the pressure of expectations. Everyone had the expectation of Invictus Gaming being able to take 1st, going to MSI, but all that pressure culminating of getting on stage and obviously falling short, that's where that emotion comes from. So coming strong, refocusing for summer split. I want to see what Invictus Gaming could do running into Worlds.
Absolutely. That's the big hope for the team. Of course, we do have to apologize for the delays, everyone. That being said, our analysts are now going to go ahead and take it and tell us a little bit more about what we should expect out of this matchup. Gentlemen?
Cheers, Dom. And as you said, tech difficulties, it happens. We're in esports after all. So it's going to just take a little bit of any updates. But when we do, we'll give them to you as soon as possible. But it gives us a bit of time to actually talk about the teams holistically because we just basically slammed through the top shelf. So how are we feeling? What are our initial thoughts on these teams?
Well, the first thing, obviously, is that Rogue Warriors picked Kai'Sa. They let it through. They let it through. So that's a big compositional choice for them, and we're going to see the ramifications of this really early. You could tell from their banning phase that they wanted to isolate bot lane from any interference. They ban out the Ornn. They ban out the Olaf. They want this Kai'Sa to grow up and be big, you know. But the only question left is, what is that mid lane counter pick going to be from Rookie? That's the big question we have to ask here, because we've seen really interesting things. RNG, when they pick Kai'Sa, they always ban the Ryze. And the reason for that is when Kai'Sa goes to the backline, Ryze can instantly stun her, and she's dead. She's out of the meta. So I really want to see what the next phase of the bans is going to be.
Yeah, super curious as well to see if the Ryze is actually picked by Rogue Warriors.
Okay, well, that was a fast pause. We're already good to go. So we're going to send it back to the casters to get us back into Champion Select.
And we're back, and I will not get out of here, Rusty. I am here to talk about League of Legends, and it is, in fact, the Soraka committed to from Invictus Gaming. We're just going to hop right back in because it seems like we've skipped all of that pomp earlier, and we are now seeing a full roster from Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, I already mentioned why the Soraka was important here, and it was already practiced upon by Bao and by IG in the last week. The Sion did end up getting picked, so that we don't know if it's going to be top lane or mid lane specifically. Just now that he knows that it's going to be going up against Shen, I would pick Sion top and put Ryze in the mid lane. It would make a lot of sense there, but just kidding.
Rookie breaking out the Anivia.
I'm just going to run it back. Ryze versus Anivia is incredibly poor for Ryze. That needs to be put in the top lane. And Sion, we've already seen that matchup. Sion versus Anivia is so bad for Anivia just because Sion's going to be able to tank up so much of Anivia's early damage, has a larger mana pool as well, and then just first buys Banner of Command and runs it into mid lane tower. So it's going to be Anivia needing a lot of help early so that mid lane tower keeps up.
We'll see how that works out as Rookie taking Anivia in the mid lane here in the LPL. The first of the LPL with only 2 full sets, 2 full best of 5s left. Of course, we have to see something new. We have to see something surprising. It's not the Soraka, though some of you might be guessing that. It is that Anivia locked in. And with a laugh and a smile, Jackie Love is going to start loading into this. The coaches shake hands. Invictus Gaming, Rogue Warriors, 12 weeks now on the line for some very important circuit points if these teams want to look to the future.
Yeah, here's the thing about the Anivia pick, just to touch on a little bit. It's been a pick that's been spammed by Rookie and solo queue. So he is very comfortable on the champion, even though he hasn't played it on the big stage. So I want to see what he can do on the larger stage, going up against the Sion, which is a really difficult early game matchup because they're going to outscale with the damage that Anivia does pile up later on in the game. But you have to get past that point.
We'll see how that works out for them as the fans, you can see, have loaded into the Chongqing Arena. You heard it from Pulse. This game is being played live out of the Snake Pit, and though they were eliminated early in the playoffs, they're still playing host to 2 of the best teams in the LPL, one of the best teams in LPL regular season history. They're going to look for a win here for redemption in their loss just 3 days ago. Their opponents, Rogue Warriors, seeking the same after being slaughtered by Edward Gaming, the most dominant team in the history of the LPL. That said, we are loaded onto the Rift for this fourth place match between Invictus Gaming and Rogue Warriors. As ever, the fans can't contain their enthusiasm. Come on, guys, settle down, settle down. We've got some important League of Legends to talk about here.
I mean, they don't get these teams coming to the pit that often. So
Yeah.
Got to get that all out now.
Absolutely. Now on your screen, you can see Doinby in the mid lane taking that Arcane Comet into Rookie's unsealed spellbook. And we did see Rookie, in fact, play that Anivia against Royal Never Give Up, so I apologize. How quickly the mind forgets Game 2 of a best-of-5 series.
Yeah, and I'm just taking a look at the runes here. The fact that Sejuani seems to be going towards, what's the name of that again?
The Press the Attack?
No, that's not Press the Attack.
Press the Attack, Fleet Footwork, and, the 3 auto-attack one.
Jeez,
for more damage after the 3 auto-attacks.
So the takeaway, of course, is the fact that you get 4 stacks on Sejuani passive.
Yeah.
It's the main bulk of her damage. So if you ever get into a skirmish with Jarvan, if you ever have the vision control advantage, be able to get the first hop on him, you can actually just get the stun, proc the passive, and then head out immediately. So that's actually just for specifically the matchup. So it's nice to see.
Already, though, in this bottom lane, we can see both our AD carries and supports trading quite happily, but Killua is absolutely receiving the worst of this trade. Interesting to see JackeyLove and Baolan change up their strategies here and focus the support. That said, Flawless is going for a quick invade. He went red buff to blue, and Ning looks to be doing the same on the other side of the map. Did these junglers do like scrims yesterday and get each other's strategies down? How on earth did they end up on opposite sides so quickly?
Level 1, they must have had the vision of this. So this just means that both sides, even though Mouse is trying to keep this alive, he's able to do that. He's able to do that just because Shen got pushed in incredibly early on. So I actually feel that it's going to be really difficult for Sejuani to get ahead out here, knowing that both Sion and Ryze are going to be able to stop him.
Mouse hits the spell flux and continues to push Ning back away from that blue buff. The more damage, the better. The more time wasted. Down to 110 health, and while red buff will heal Ning up, that's a lot of time wasted. Flawless, meanwhile, took the Gromp and got a recall in.
Really early, I would say really strong early strategy, just because Ning's not going to be able to take the blue buff, knowing that both adjacent lanes are getting pushed in. Anivia and the Shen pick are going to have a really rough time early in dealing and managing the waves. So Rogue Warriors, level 1, strong for them, because now that 3 buff is going to come through.
Oh, that's actually Summoner Heal being used by JackeyLove. Afraid of the second skin passive proc on SMLZ, the 5 stacks plasma. If that procs for the % missing health, even at low levels, that's going to be quite a big chunk of damage. But still, it looks like a happy start to Flawless. Level 3 to Ning's level 3. He's already got a full recall with refillable, the talisman, and the machete. And in the mid lane, Doinby, happy to be going up against that Anivia, spitting minions all day long.
Ooh, and the fact that Flawless is now matching early top means that he's trying to take advantage of this.
Oh, that's Flash onto Ning. He thinks he's got it, but Ning flashes over the wall. And that was the lethal tempo activated.
They're going in.
Binding land, that's a heal. Exhaust. And the flash from SMLZ. He's chasing Baolan now, but with that ambulance passive, able to quickly retreat and catch up to JackeyLove.
Baolan has just a little bit more mana to get a heal across on JackeyLove so they can get a push in. It's a cannon wave, so means this first push in should be a good enough time for them to base.
And look at this, Flawless and Doinby with all the OMW pings. Killua lands the binding. SMLZ steps forward. He's looking for first blood, and he has found it. Baolan flashes, and Flawless lets him off.
Okay, well done from Rogue Warriors. You could tell that JackeyLove and Baolan were just really desperately trying to get that wave pushed in, even missing the cannon. Baolan's underneath tower.
Yeah, Doinby is holding him here. The big knockup is canceled, but still, Baolan has nowhere to go. They gift the kill over to SMLZ. 2-0 Rogue Warriors.
Timely reaction from both Flawless and Doinby just to head down bottom lane. That just came from the communication. Killua must have been calling it, just because after that one trade, immediately rushing down to the bottom lane to get that kill across. So well done from Rogue Warriors early on.
And that has got to be real difficult for IG to deal with. The bonding lands and Rogue Warriors just go in.
Yep. Made it a difficult call for JackeyLove. There's no way that he's going to step backwards, because if he does, then he just essentially is walking straight in towards Kai'Sa damage. So really well done from SMLZ and Killua to just box him in.
And you can see Ning is still struggling to catch up. His stats on the bottom of your screen right now. He has been more often than not a better jungler than Flawless over the course of the regular split, but now that they're meeting in the postseason, it seems like Flawless is playing perhaps a bit better with his team here.
Yeah, it's funny. Last time they met, Ning really put the stomp in on the Flawless.
Oh, yeah. That was the end of the Flawless Lee Sin as well.
Exactly. Undefeated Lee Sin up until that point, and he was getting crushed early on because a lot of the Invictus Gaming strategy was to get adjacent lanes pushing in and just invade him constantly.
They found him again, Flawless. Tries to body block with another knockup in his own jungle. Rogue Warriors dive deep and find another kill.
And it's just a sick joke that it's this time around he's the one getting invaded upon.
Doinby has his ultimate ready. The pain train is pulling in. The 310 back to base. And Doinby doesn't even need to activate it. The binding lands, and they gift over another kill to SMLZ. 3-0 on the Kai'Sa.
It's a rough one. I mean, this is tough. They're just going to be looking to just chunk down this tower repeatedly, and they can do this on repeat. Mid lane get pushed in by the Sion again and again and again, and they can just head down bottom lane. They don't necessarily have to get the kill. They just need to be able to look for those dives. So it's now on Ning and it's on Rookie to try and stop this from happening. Rookie doesn't have teleport, so that's even more harder, more difficult, and Ning's getting pushed into his own jungle and getting singled out, so it's so difficult for JackeyLove and Abalan to keep alive.
And before the game, we were talking about how important vision control for these two teams are. Take a look at the wards, Raz. Control ward behind red buff, control ward in river, control ward in bottom lane, plus plenty of deep wards for teleports if they even need them. Rogue Warriors have learned their lesson from Edward Gaming in a terrifying fashion, and IG looked completely unprepared.
A lot of it is just around mid lane push and priority. If they're going to have Kai'Sa and just a losing support in the bottom lane, if they're going to bleed pressure, then follow it up.
SMLZ ticks over to level 6. The binding lands, and he goes in. That is a 4-0 Kai'Sa.
Yeah, drafting aside, Killua is just landing every Q, and they're pushing into tower too. I don't know how Varus is going to survive this one.
And you just saw the stats on the bottom of your screen, the difference of IG playing with Duke versus playing with the Shy. And while top lane might have been relatively close to even early on, this is a completely different Invictus Gaming. After the tragedy of their defeat against Royal Give Up, you do not want to start this series off with a crushing 5-0 head start for Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, but it looks like they're going to be trying to trade sides here. But you know Mouse, he knows how to just take that pressure, eat it, so he's just going to head away from his own tower and save his life. No trades across the board.
And we're seeing Solo Gold getting passed over to SMLZ. You can see his stats on the bottom of your screen. The only thing that he's higher in stats is that damage percent by a whole 3.3% than JackeyLove. And now normally you would say that's because the majority of Invictus Gaming members just do massive damage in general. Well, this time it's looking completely different.
It's just because of the situation they're put in.
Yeah.
Rogue Warriors in playoff time were bleeding pressure mid. This time around have a complete winning matchup in the mid lane.
Yeah.
This is something we've tried to see more of coming out of Rogue Warriors, just a strategy involved where mid lane can back up a bleeding bottom lane. So now the SMLZ and Killua, sure, they're in a losing lane matchup, but it doesn't matter what the matchup is like when Flawless and Doinby can cover for that.
Doinby now picking up his blue buff. Flawless absolutely helping to cover for his team in that what one might theorize should have been a difficult bottom lane is now a 4-0 Kai'Sa with first turret and what looks to be an Essence Reaver rush on the way.
What's scary now is that the strategy from Rogue Warriors is not to move SMLZ and Killua to the top lane for the next tower. In fact, they're just slow pushing this, trying to track Varus and Soraka. If they come and try and meet them in this lane, that is a long lane back to your own tower, and it's very easy for Rogue Warriors to fish for kills.
Which it seems like that's what they're doing here, binding lands just for some harass. But Rookie, nothing is safe. Your bottom lane is 0-4. Your jungler got ganked at Wolves, and you're being harassed by the enemy support 9 minutes in under your own Tier 1 turret. It's going to take a lot for IG to get themselves back into this. That said, if there is a team that can do it, it has to be Invictus Gaming.
Yeah, a lot of it's just on them to look to be a little bit creative. They can do that since they do have a lot of utility surrounding JackeyLove's ultimate. Rookie's Q, so there's some pick potential that they can look towards along with Sejuani. So they're not out of the game yet. He has Smite to heal himself.
There he goes, able to top himself off. Gank bottom lane. Oh my goodness, Duke! He misses the Shadow Dash. They flash under the turret to chase down the kill, but look at that.
Oh,
Doinby
no.
is there in time, and he has killed Mouse Realm Warp to catch up to Duke. Now that means Rookie is there. He lands the stun. They are able to get themselves on the board with that kill, but that is just a tragedy.
It hurts. That was just Invictus Gaming trying to get the kill across, but we all saw it happening. It was an unfortunate point to see. So Duke couldn't get the taunt across, but at least it turns into a trade because Rookie roams top.
Yeah, you can see him on your screen right now. That is not a happy face from the world champion for Invictus Gaming. SMLZ, he doesn't have the Essence Reaver. He's got nowhere to go, but he still gets the kill. Absolutely massive Kai'Sa. 5-0, 11 minutes in.
SMLZ and Killua sniping people across the map under towers. So before we even get into that, I guess we have to see the failures from Duke.
Oh.
Didn't get to get the kill across, didn't get the taunt. Rise survives long enough to turn it on towards Ning. Thankfully, Rookie is making his way topside, so he's able to get the assassinating Q and kill onto Mouse. So at least that turns into a trade, and he saves Duke's life.
But now this map is completely in control of Rogue Warriors. It's 4,500 gold advantage for this team right now. And at 11.5 minutes in, this is This is absolutely huge. Doinby is all across the map. Flawless is tracking Ning. Mouse was somehow able to survive long enough to get himself a kill. Where on earth can Invictus Gaming try to turn this around? Is it just give up as little as possible and drag it out to a late game team fight?
Well, yes, but a lot of it is they still have onus on the engage points that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So waiting on mistakes coming out of Rogue Warriors, which they do make throughout the regular season. So watch them take mid lane turret. Now, Rogue Warriors have Rift Herald here, so they can place it mid and look for inner tower. It has to be on Invictus Gaming to see if they can get a proper pick-off towards SMLZ or Flawless on an engage, and they can look to punish that. They have a lot of wave clear based around Rookie, so a lot of the question marks is where is Rookie positioning on a lot of these instances, because he needs to be with the team just to counter Rogue Warriors' push.
That said, that's now Essence Reaver completed on that Kai'Sa. There's a Morgana Black Shield to try and protect it. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Rookie has got lots of wave clear for those side lanes. Still doesn't have that teleport up just yet. So perhaps Invictus Gaming are going to have to wait for at least a few more items. Still not even Gwinsu's finished for JackieLove 13 minutes in as he starts 23 CS behind SMLZ and 2 kills down. Nearly double the gold for that Kai'Sa.
Yep. At least he just purchased the Gwinsu's now, thankfully, on the base. So now that he's heading back towards the mid lane, item breakpoints is not that drastic. It's not that large. And they just need to find a way to not bleed. I would say ideal for Invictus Gaming. Hold this mid lane and force Rogue Warriors to be able to take it with Rift Herald. They can do that. It just comes down to positioning. Having a Nivea in the bottom lane, that's fair because then you have an extra number. Okay, there we have it.
Yeah, that's the Rift Herald. Rogue Warriors, Raz, it seems they know your strategy as you're telling it to us. But Invictus Gaming are the ones who are unprepared. They're bringing 3 members in that mid lane, but Killua is already behind the wall, and that charge is just going to slam through the turret.
Yeah, and now Invictus Gaming should be in position to stop the next slam. So it's going to take a bit of a chunk, but it shouldn't lead into a dive unless it's SMLZ.
He looks for the dive. He's caught by Ning stun, but his team is there to protect him. Baolan still low. That's the Black Shield immediately burned through, and he gets over the wall. Meanwhile, Cataclysm, Wish comes in, Shadow Dash inside of the pit, and they still get the kill. Duke is trying to stall it out as long as possible, but Rise has joined the fight. Mouse trading auto for auto. JackieLove on the bottom gets a single assassination, but that's still 2 for 1, and Doinby takes the long way around, and JackieLove finds himself with a double.
2 for 2, and if Rookie had hit his first Q initially, that actually would have been a proper trade for Invictus Gaming. Ultimately, they stopped the Rift Herald from taking down the inner turret, and they even up the trade. So Invictus Gaming are still on the map and could take even more.
Yeah, those are the mistakes that you were talking about from Rogue Warriors. SMLZ getting way too greedy for this kill.
Yeah, and no Morgana near him, so he didn't actually get the spell shield coming in. That's why he was getting CC locked. Oh, it looked like the Q from Rookie did land. It was just the spell shield that came later on. Would have worked much better for Rogue Warriors if the communication from SMLZ came across so that he can have the spell shield to begin with. Would have gotten at least a proper initiation, back up, and maybe take down the Sejuani.
Oh, but meanwhile, SMLZ, did he land that? He actually landed that. Finds himself with another kill onto Baolan this time. 0-4 on the support. 2-2 for the AD carry. 0-3 on the jungler. Invictus Gaming seem to be falling apart, and it's Rookie who's the only one holding his ground in this game.
It's rough. And at this point, if you're looking at Rogue Warriors, the only pick that they have in their composition is either Doinby running at you or Killua throwing out a Q. So they should be easy to just understand where it's coming from, but it's still hitting them. Killua's been playing a phenomenal game so far.
Absolutely. Now with the Shirelia's Reverie and that Moby Boots to further catch up to people. Oh boy. Single binding lands. Single bit of CC at long range. And that's going to be SMLZ leaping onto the target. Flying. Duke, though, he's trading with Mouse in the top lane. He's doing all right at 130 to 130 CS. And he does have his teammate, seems to be focusing on some resistances to try and sustain in these team fights, but you've got to keep your eyes on that Kai'Sa in these fights because she is just huge.
Yeah, and if Duke is that far out, a lot of his eyes are on communication. So it's in his ears, what his team's telling him, where Rogue Warriors are running, because if you're pushing out that far versus a great gank setup of Rise, then you have to be confident that they're not running up topside. So they must have a good indication that this Infernal Dragon is what Rogue Warriors are looking for.
The evolved Icathian Rain going to help shred through its health so quickly. Boom, big hit and a smite to lock it down. Ning is meanwhile snuck into the top brush on that top half of the map. Mouse, can he hold himself there safely? Clears out the minion wave and actually steps forward. Perhaps a bit of a bait, but look at how Mouse is hiding behind the minion wave.
Yeah, he has to pull Rise much farther out of the lane, or Rise is going to be able to get out there easily. There's not a lot of damage out of the two, Sejuani and Shen. And Rise has a lot of movement speed in his burst, so movement speed burst and the flash, the gank is not going to work.
Yeah, recall completed. Baolan spotted on that top half of the map by a ward placed from Killua, and a zombie ward placed from earlier, as SMLZ is now going to be farming the enemy jungle as well as the enemy champions. And still, Rogue Warriors control the map. They're 6,500 gold ahead. Rookie's rushing that second item as quick as he can to look for some vital damage, but it's going to be so tough.
And here's the thing, the RNG on the map is actually changing the landscape of the game. Invictus Gaming could have been comfortable waiting and playing out Rogue Warriors' strategy, seeing if they can get a pick across on somebody if they make a mistake like we did in the last fight.
Yeah.
But just because the next dragon is Infernal Dragon, so that could be a double Infernal proc for Rogue Warriors can actually play an incredibly lame game of push out waves, get strong vision control on neutral objectives, just take them and go for a Baron. And that will pull IG away from their turrets for the next dragon. If they lose the next dragon, then it's just going to be Invictus Gaming so far behind in just stats alone.
They've got a very small window of opportunity to get some gold and try and fight over that next dragon. Because you know Rogue Warriors are going to have their eyes on the prize. Already it looks as though they're setting their eyes on that bottom half of the map while running this 1-3-1 strategy. They've had teleport on both of their side laners. Now they're taking the blue buffs away from Rookie to make that Anivia even less safe. And it's still pre-20 minutes. This is a very difficult game for IEG to play out, especially after suffering their defeat in Game 5 against Royal Never Give Up just a few days ago. Still, though, they've got to try and fight and reset, if not in this game, then in the next, to continue this series and try to get those circuit points.
Yeah, and it would be a demoralizing defeat of Rogue Warriors if IG somehow come back.
Oh, yeah.
So they're just shutting down a lot of those abilities or instances, because I was talking about a few ways they can get a pick opportunity on Rogue Warriors. It's a little bit hard because Doinby's incredibly tanky. Mouse has Cleanse now, so it doesn't even have teleport, so he went towards Spellbook Cleanse, and then of course has Flash for himself with the shield that he got from his itemizing. So he's in a really good spot. So it was only going to be on SMLZ, and on SMLZ picking up QSS, there's so much safety in the composition of Rogue Warriors. So it's really Invictus Gaming pulling their hair out, like what strategy we actually get out of here?
How do we kill it? I mean, that's always the age-old conundrum of getting fed. Do I buy more attack items so that I can kill them faster, or do I buy survival items so that I maintain the snowball at the same rate? Seems like SMLZ going with a bit of both with that QSS and now the Runans, as you mentioned.
Yeah, Rogue Warriors, specifically Doinby, has always been that kind of player. If I have an out of a lead, I'm going to be building tank items because we should just win off this mid-game burst alone.
Constant harass and trading, fighting over the jungle, fighting over the red buff. Look at the vision that they've planted on that top half of the map. I don't know who has been working with this team, but this is a completely different Rogue Warriors than played against EDG. They are ready for this Baron.
You're right, and a lot of people would say, well, it's because they have such a large 7 to 8K gold lead. Of course they'll have that, but they've made massive instances, like right now, 3 red trinkets coming out of Rogue Warriors, Sion being able to pick it up for themselves. They're really taking a heavy focus on vision control around Baron.
Just constantly trading out abilities. Doinby's actually going to step in, force the flash out of Rookie. Ning over the wall eats a huge hit. SMLZ, he's thinking about it. There's Plasma on Jackie Love.
That's damage that will last. Potions being gulped right now by Jackie Love and Ning, but technically they can just start on this Baron and try and focus on a fight. They're just playing a riskier game now.
This area of the map is still so dark for Invictus Gaming. You can see Duke pushed bottom and is now running to try and group up with his team.
And here's the thing, most aggressive teams will just start on Baron. They'll know that they have an HP advantage versus Invictus Gaming, and Invictus Gaming have had the time now. It looks like they're going for it.
Yeah, that's the Realm Warp. Flash Snare from Mouse. SMLZ. QSS is out of Ning's stun. Dashes into the Cataclysm to assassinate one. Mouse gets the kill. Meanwhile, Stand United will be denied. He Shadow Dashes onto Doinby, who's going low, but is still so tanky. That Sion with tons of health. SMLZ kites it around, forces the Flash, a knock-up, a Snare. It's almost enough. The Flash and a Cathian Rain with another kill for Rogue Warriors.
The MVP of that fight was Doinby. He separated the fight and made it incredibly difficult for Rookie to do damage, and for him to be anywhere near Jackie Love. So Jackie Love had no one in front of him to shield him from the damage coming through. So well done, and they'll be looking for Baron.
They've started onto it now. Baolan is starting to step forward. He's placed a ward into the pit to provide for his team, but Killua lands the binding. Meanwhile, they've caught onto Jackie Love, and they've sent him back to the graveyard, deciding not to risk it with this Baron at half health.
It's incredible. Rogue Warriors, sure they could just try and rush for the Baron, but they're really happy at just baiting for fights time and time again. They come back towards the Baron after pushing out these waves. They'll have Ryze ultimate again, so technically they can continue to do this.
Yeah, and to follow up on what you said earlier, Raz, look at how much time they've wasted. Infernal Dragon is spawning in 30 seconds. That said, here's that fight again.
Yep, so take a look at Doinby from the start of this, because his entire motivation is just to look at Rookie, zone him with Q, and so there's no way Rookie gets towards JackeyLove, there's no way Soraka gets towards JackeyLove. So while he's taking a lot of damage, just from the game state alone, from the team fight perspective, there's no way the main carries of Invictus Gaming are going to be able to deal damage.
Only now you're starting to see some armor built by Duke dying at the end of that, but as we were saying, that Infernal Dragon is back up. And if IG couldn't fight for the Baron, there's no way they can fight for the Infernal.
Which just sucks, because time and time again,
yes,
the strategy for Invictus Gaming is just to play back, right?
Yeah.
Not take the risks. If it was any other dragon, they could just relax a little bit and try and farm up gold. Thankfully, the next one is Cloud Dragon for them, so they can actually just try and farm up towards decent item spots. Right now, JackeyLove is trying to get towards his Infinity Edge, so he's relevant in these team fights, but it's such a hefty purchase, and he's not getting gold that he needs.
Absolutely is not. Rookie, he's finally completed his second item with that Archangels. It has converted, but still, this is constant vision control around the Baron. Invictus Gaming, they're going to try to step in as a collective group and get some wards in the area, but we're seeing Rogue Warriors absolutely relentless with their wards. Still, Doinby split pushing bottom. He's got his teleport now. He's got Righteous Glory to help catch up to anyone who might try to avoid him this next time. Rookie's actually stepping up to try and clear some wards. Or sorry, minions. That's what those are.
Yeah, just
wards,
trying to get
minions.
Proper pushes across so they can at least step up in the red side jungle.
Doinby actually teleporting in, leaving bottom lane undefended.
It's going to be a full commitment. They might be forced to start Baron here. Yeah, they're going to go for it just because Shen is now split pushing it.
Already clearing out the blue trinket that was used by JackeyLove. They're burning through its health so quickly. That Kai'Sa 3-item shred really doing wonders for them. Flawless leaps in, and IG can't contest. They can't even get close to the pit. Baron picked up. Oh, hey, and the wall keeping Doinby in place. Now that will be a snare and a lot of crowd control onto Flawless. He's forced to turn back around. Mouse split from his team, and though JackeyLove steps up, it's not enough to kill.
Yeah, even though they couldn't get any more kills off of that, you could tell the pressure that they had played so well. The damage that Ryze, Kai'Sa will have just on Baron buff alone is so large that they didn't even need the engage aspect of it, the tank, to be able to just sit on top of it. So they allowed themselves the option of looking for a fight while not committing to it.
And now they've got that Baron buff. They don't have teleport on Doinby, but they don't need it because it looks like they're just going to run straight down this mid lane, break down the tier 2. Fourth turret now gone for IG, and this siege is far from over.
Yeah, they're going to keep going. They don't have Ryze near them, so it's going to be a little bit tougher for them to commit on this wave. They're just going to need some time. So I guess they decided that they weren't going to try and brute force it, and they're going to wait on waves. So it should take 2 more waves for them to meet up with Ryze.
And look at the wards that they've placed. They can rotate top for the tier 2. They can rotate bottom. The map is completely dark for Invictus Gaming, but for that bottom lane and by their bottom tier 2. Rogue Warriors, they're just going to push right up into this mid lane, grouping up a second time and catching IG on recall, breaking down the inhib turret. They're 4 versus 5, though Mouse is able to catch up. Doesn't quite have the Realm Warp yet. We do have a quick pause.
I want to talk about that.
Turret is taken.
So the fact that they were able to get that turret so quickly, a lot of that was just based around Anivia not being there. Had Anivia based a little earlier, come back towards mid lane, that would have been defended a little bit more easily with wall, Q, just forcing a fight, knowing that Ryze is not with them. But worst case scenario came for Invictus Gaming, where they lost both mid lane and Ryze was still splitting bottom lane. So just off of this one, they get the mid lane tower, and Ryze can technically still join them and try and force for inhibitor, or he can just stay bottom lane, his rest of his team can join him and take another tower for their troubles.
And you just saw Doinby laughing and smiling with his team as they enter into this pause here. Just on the other side, Rookie, after the tragic emotional defeat against Royal Never Give Up, is now going to have to try and recover. We mentioned that this isn't just a game about circuit points. This isn't just a game about third place in the league. This is about testing the emotional resilience of one of the best mid laners in the world for the LPL. He's never made finals, and the only title he has was back from when he was in Korea.
Yeah, I think he's past that point, getting to the third place match. A lot of it, you could say emotional resilience. I would say just wanting to prove to his fans. Came out in Weibo, a lot of it just trying to say, look, I messed up. Just trying to kind of understand the position that he was in and kind of have the fans backing. So best way to do that is come up with a victory here tonight. This might be the first poor step in game 1, but you have a lot more games to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the mid inhibitor has been broken. Already we can see Doinby swapping up towards that top lane as Rogue Warriors, as we said, mentioning that vision earlier, able to easily rotate down to that bottom tier 2 and break it down. You don't even need to wait for the minion wave to crash as they just have so much damage.
Yep. The safer play, go bottom lane and look towards this next turret. They could technically go even safer, send someone else mid lane, push that in, so they have a shepherded minion wave coming through. They might just do that, actually. It's hilarious. Rogue Warriors are playing so defensively, they're not going to allow Invictus Gaming an iota of an opportunity.
I mean, we remember game 2 against Edward Gaming, in which they were able to turn around a lost early game, take huge advantages, but then ended up dropping at a Baron. Lack of vision control allowing Scout to get the steal and win the game off of a single play. This time it seems as though they're not taking any chances with any crazy throws or turnarounds.
Yeah, I mean, a team with this large of a lead, finding themselves in that 50-50, Rogue Warriors don't want any of that, which is going to be great for them just going on forward, because this is a real improvement that we're seeing from them.
SMLZ steps up to the turret. Akathian Rain for some harass onto Jackie Love as the wave is cleared out. You can see he's taken some hits here, but that Baron Cannon is still hammering down onto the turret.
It should be the wave.
It's only a matter of time, and finally the last shot breaks it down. SMLZ continues the push forward while Mouse split pushes bottom.
And it's only now that Invictus Gaming know that Rise is bottom lane. They can just force for a fight.
That's what they're trying to do. That's the QSS from SMLZ. Flawless goes in immediately, finishes off Baolan, 3 in the pit as SMLZ tries to get in, but inhibited by that range. Relmorph gets Mouse caught up. He's caught Jackie Love, and he's assassinated him. Duke running to the fountain for his life, but there is no way you can escape from that. Rogue Warriors turn onto Ning. Another big burst. He goes down. The Nexus is the target as they smash out game number 1. Rookie on the fountain in that Egg Nivea will try and survive as long as he can, but will end up going down. Rogue Warriors take game 1 in this best-of-5 series and take their first win against Invictus Gaming of 2018.
Smashing victory, that's one way to put it. Now, I would say that this victory started really early on in just the drafting phase. We talked about it right from the get-go. We wanted to see Doinby have early game impact. We set carries. He went on the Scion pick. That ain't a carry, but that's still an early game carry in the sense that he was able to carry so much pressure, head towards the bottom lane so consistently, frequently, save the laning phase of Kaisa. So strategically, that was sound. And Mafa's going to have to go into the back and really have a good discussion of how they want to go on to the next game strategically.
I think we can say beyond saving the laning phase of that Kaisa, enabling completely as it was Flawless and Rookie roaming bottom, diving at level 5 behind a tier 1, almost all the way up to the tier 2, just to spoon feed those kills into SMLZ's mouth.
We had a few of those
Choo-choo,
dives.
here comes the feed train.
Every time. It was just a trap. And you know what? They knew it was going to happen. Jackie Love and Baolan knew it was going to keep happening. There's no strategy away from it.
All right, that said, though, it's now time for our analysts to break down that game 1.
Thank you so much, guys, and here we are. Thank you so much. We're going to actually follow on what Raz was saying right there, because I feel like he just hit the nail on the head, honestly, because it was all in that early game, and more specifically, it was starting in the draft.
Yeah. There was a couple of big things in the draft that I think you have to look at first and foremost. I would say the biggest one is actually the flex picks, Pulse. We've seen this before. I mean, the last time we saw it, guess who they were playing against? It was IG still playing against RNG. It was very recent. They picked the Anivia last, and they were flex picked against once again. Scion goes mid lane. That's like the #1 cardinal sin for me. It's a very big strength. So like before we go into the IG side of it, I think what Rogue Warriors did was great, and I think this is a big part of why they constantly pick blue side for themselves, is they have the capabilities of flex picking even on blue. They have the capabilities of prioritizing with their first 3 picks, having one of them be a flex, which enables the rest of their draft.
But the question still remains, why? Why pick the Anivia into this flex pick right here? Because if you're like, I want the matchup into the Rise or the Vladimir, how it was the other day, and then they just flex the sound to mid lane and you lose pre-6.
I think the question they were thinking about was how do we get that level 6 kill? Because they're thinking about taking over the game once that level 6 hit. And they have a great combination with the Anivia and the Sejuani together. However, I don't think it was early enough. Like Raz said on the cast, they should have gone early and hard. This is how Rogue Warriors have been throwing a lot of their games. It happens around early, the 2v2. When they can't win that, they can't support the bot lane. In this game, it was completely the opposite. They just sat back for the early game and let Rogue Warriors run away with the mid.
Yeah, and I will say very fundamentally when you're drafting against the Rogue Warriors side, they don't change their style of play from this at all. It's very simple and linear, and you know exactly what you should be doing against it. And I can understand what IG wanted to go, pick the Anivia, get to level 6, just scale up that little bit more, you know, get to that late game team fighting and be super powerful there, and prevent them from having anything back themselves. You've got Anivia wall into Sion. You can go dematerialize it into Sion as well, so he doesn't want to rush Banner of Command. These things have merit to it, but you lose pre-6, and if Rogue Warriors win pre-6, they just snowball the game out. They're so good at it.
Yeah, I mean, the other two picks that really stand out, that highlight your point there, is the fact we had the Kai'Sa pick come out, who, guess what, snowballs in the early game if you fall behind, and then you also have the Soraka coming out, which just kind of face-planted in the laning phase.
Yeah, definitely did. For me, I mean, to talk towards the early laning phase, we were talking about this backstage. You know, what does the Soraka do? And you've got a silence field, which is quite nice into both Morgana and team fights against the Sion, as well as the Ryze, who wants the machine gun spell weave. And it controls a super nice area where the Varus should be free to hit at all times. There is merit there. But unfortunately, and this is the weirdest thing about it, like, no matter how much we want to talk about how good Soraka is, at level 2, she had a point in Q, she had a point in E. There's no heals. JackeyLove can't step up. They get bound once, they lose a trade, and suddenly they're waiting till level 3, and that's an extra couple of waves, and they lose in that time.
Yeah, and on the other point in the map was that I don't know what Ning was doing early game, because he had that really weird path where he started his own red buff, saw that Jarvan was invading him, went into the enemy jungle, but the problem was both solo lanes for Rogue Warriors were already pushing. So he actually spent 46 seconds not taking a single camp in the top side of the map. And everybody knew he was there as well, so there was no pressure bot lane at all. And Jarvan was around that area, so there was no way that the Varus could actually pick on the Kai'Sa, and that really made the bot lane collapse as well.
Yeah, so major problems in the early game, and that really just sealed the deal before we really got into mid game at all. Now, we were going to show the laning phase and just, you know, show all the kills that happened in bottom lane, but that would change our maturity rating for the broadcast. So instead, we're going to show the mid lane play. And Rusty, I want you to take us through this one of how the Kai'Sa was able to just blow the game wide open.
Yeah, so one thing that I want to talk about with this Kai'Sa play, it's a small detail, and the reason that I want to show this is because you never see this. And it's super important to note that the W animation locks you and prevents you from actually being able to move or attack during that time. And the way that SMLZ has proven once again that he's got mastery of the champion, that he is in fact the Queen of Kai'Sa, is through this play that you'll see in the mid lane. The fact that he's able to throw the W and then ult forwards after the binding connects maximizes the stacks that he has, and picture perfect amount of damage comes out of him. If the W wasn't thrown, the kill was not there. Once again proving why he is such a master of the new champion.
So it seems like the blueprint for the second game is definitely take away the Kai'Sa. I feel like you just can't give this to SMLZ, otherwise he'll just run away with the game.
What do you think, Clement?
I think that, okay, so my point, it was we had this discussion before game, and I said, okay, they're definitely not going to ban the Kai'Sa. They want to pick on it like they did against RNG in the first couple of games.
Sure.
However, I will also say that by game 4, game 5 versus RNG, they were like, yeah, we should rethink that. But my big point for them is I actually want Rookie to pick the Swain. I think that's one of the pivotal picks that EDG showed against Rogue Warriors, and it works really well because Swain is one of those champions that Doinby does not have a counter to when it comes to the 2v2 skirmishing mid-game. But unfortunately, Rookie has never played this champion, and I want him to unban it and kind of just go for it.
Now, the last thing we have to highlight on this analyst desk is talking about Rogue Warriors and their team fights, because I think we've all said this between ourselves, like, have Rogue Warriors actually had a clean team fight? Are they actually a clean team? And the answer pretty much resoundingly was no. But today, I think we actually saw some really clean team fights out from Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, we did see a lot of positives from Rogue Warriors in this game, and it's about following through with the leads that they accrued for themselves. And as a result of getting that early game lead, it's not the easiest team fighting composition to execute sometimes, and that is actually one of the difficulties of Kai'Sa in general, is how do you play front to back when she's actually in the front and there is no back to actually protect. And I think one thing that they did was draft for that strength, and then they also played around that strength. Putting the Ryze top lane, who's fairly tanky with itemization, and then having the Sion in the mid lane means that everything goes forwards. And it's the new age version of what we saw with like the Kled going forwards with a Sivir and like sprinting in.
Yeah, that's the big thing about Kaisa comps. If you want to go front to back, it's so easy right now. She's probably the best tank killer we have in the game currently, right next to Varus. And just to talk about the build a little bit more, I feel like SMLZ always has that really interesting build where he goes for the Essence Reaver. He knows he's ahead. He knows he wants to go to that crit. And we actually had that footage of him killing Soraka by himself, just landing the Void Seeker and going in. That's what you can do when you're 4.7k ahead by 30 minutes.
Yeah, and because of that, SMLZ will be taking our MVP of this game. No real surprise, honestly. You managed to get all those kills in the laning phase and just snowball it into the win here for Rogue Warriors in this game 1 of his best of 5.
And I will say, coming into this second game, Clement, that it should probably be banned. If we're going to continue with the blue side and the red side matchups, I do think that you want to prioritize the Varus for yourself, sure. Banning the Kai'Sa could be a risk because they could pick the Varus, but there is a Caitlyn still. There are other options available for Jackie Love that he could look towards. And I just feel like Kai'Sa as a champion is too big of a risk. She can snowball too hard if you just give her the smallest victories.
Yeah, the thing with draft right now is I don't think IG has actually utilized the first 2 picks on red side very well. Usually you want to lock in Caitlyn Morgana or Varus something like just to solidify that red side win, but they've actually gone a little bit more on the sideways for Ning, and Ning didn't translate that at all.
Yeah, impressive stuff out from Rogue Warriors in that first game, but for now we are going to take a short break before we go ahead and break it down a little bit more.